Hello and welcome to the Sack Off podcast. We are back once again after the All-Star break, which saw Boogie Cousins, the All-Star game. It was fun. NBA trade deadline time, starting at 11 a.m. Pacific time, with taking you down to the hour before as the trade deadline winds down. So there'll be plenty of action going on. Today, obviously, we're going to talk about trade deadline, but there's also some other stuff going on with the Kings. Vnace Walberg was fired. So we'll talk about what that means for the Kings. We'll talk about some of the latest rumors. It's going to be a fun show. And as always, joining me is my good friend and co-host, Oscar Hazel. Oscar, how you doing today?
I'll be fine as long as we don't trade Ben McLemore for Tony Snell or something.
That's
We'll see.
That's weird because King's Twitter tells me Ben McLemore sucks.
I think it doesn't help that Carl doesn't like him. So then, but he's been better than Marco Belinelli. Not that it's hard. There was an interesting thing on Nylon Calculus that was kind of charting 3 and D players, and Ben's almost at, I think he's -1 in BPM, which is a defensive metric, and then he's way above average in 3-point shooting. So his third year in a bad scheme for his skill set, and considering he generally has to guard the best guard on the court the whole time because they're hiding Rondo. So I don't think he's done too badly. And then he's shooting well and not really getting shots up much. He's not taking bad shots as well. But anyway, we don't need to talk about Ben yet. Maybe we'll talk about him when he hopefully doesn't get traded. I mean, I don't mind him getting traded if it's for a good return. Maybe if the Magic end up changing their mind on an Oladipo being available.
If the Magic change their mind on Oladipo, I'm gonna do backflips.
But I think it wouldn't be. I don't think you can do Ben for Oladipo. Maybe that has to be a Gay and something else trade. I'm not sure how that works now with Harris out, but then I could understand that. But I don't think Oladipo and Rondo could work. But should we talk about Vnace Walberg first?
Definitely.
I think that's the actual real thing that's happened. That's kind of important.
Yeah. So a few days ago, I think
that was last night.
Last night or the day before? The Kings announced Vnace Walberg was fired, and I mean it's interesting from many perspectives. Obviously, what it means from the team. George Karl's reaction, he wasn't happy.
So Vnace was the first person Karl hired when he came. Vnace came over from Philadelphia. He'd been with Denver before. Basically, the whole system that Karl runs is Vnace Walberg's system. And I guess we'll keep interrupting to talk about stuff that's happening. Mark Stein's reporting that Kings haven't abandoned Pau Gasol. Sam Amick saying the same. I literally don't understand that. But we'll keep on Vnace Walberg track. I mean, okay, maybe if you can get Pau for Marco and Kufos, you do that and hope you can resign him. But he's 35, and I don't know. I don't see how you can play them together. But we'll get back onto that later. So I guess although I think Chad Isick actually runs the offense in terms of running it in practice and calling it, it's all designed by Walberg. And Walberg's obviously, he had the famous quote from Basketball Breakdown where he said he thinks DeMarcus Cousins is a better perimeter player than post player. So that's obviously a huge worry. So then maybe kind of the amount of time they play Boogie in the post will change, but the fact that Karl is so pissed off about it means that he's probably not intending to change much. And Vladi's kind of talked about maybe adding another defensive coach, but then George said, "Oh, we've already got a defensive coach." So yeah, I don't know. What was your take on it? I guess it's it just shows that Karl's gone. He's has no power.
I mean, that's a big thing for me. Is essentially what was kind of Karl's go-to guy, for the offense. So Karl's a sitting duck. I mean, this move, and we'll get into the Powell thing later on, but this is pretty much clear indicator. George Karl is done. He has no power in this organization right now. He doesn't control new moves. If there's a player that fits George Karl's system, and people are connecting the dots to that. Kings aren't going to do it. I don't think they're looking forward to the next coach. So I mean, we'll see what happens to the defense coach thing, because there are some reports about Kings want to go after Mike Brown, but they'll probably have to wait a little bit longer just because of Carl. I mean, I don't know. It was a good move. I mean, I'm just happy to know that Carl's fate's pretty much decided.
I guess, well, maybe if they make the playoffs, it still won't be. So that's kind of like one worry is if they, like with Houston and Memphis, both, like Memphis not having Marc Gasol, that hurts them a lot. And trading Courtney Lee, they've obviously kind of changed. I don't think Courtney Lee's a huge piece, but he's a good piece. He's a someone that plays 25 minutes for them, and instead they're going to be playing, I guess, like people that drive down to fight head coaches instead. But so there's a chance I think they could catch them. Like I think also like Portland have been pretty lucky with injuries, and then I think it's possible that Utah can get injuries again, but we'll see. But yeah, I think I think Carl could stay, but it's weird. I just want Kings to do well enough that they miss the playoffs, give up their pick to the Bulls, and Carl gets fired. That's kind of like the range, that sweet 16-10 range. That's what they need to get in.
And like the one thing that concerned me last night is just going back to the Powell stuff again. Is like I was kind of seeing in my head nightmare scenario where you get Powell, you make the 8 seed, get swept by the Warriors. You're keeping George Karl, you're keeping Rondo with a long-term deal. Powell walks in the offseason, halfway through the season. Karl's not working out. Rondo's just as bad, and you're trying to figure out what the hell you're going to do.
Yes, and it just seems weird to obviously, it seems like it was a surprise to Karl, and then so that's kind of interesting as well. Maybe it's just a way of maybe Vlade didn't like Ben McLemore being in loads of trade rumors, and that's like Karl going behind his back. So it's just kind of him saying, "Look, I have the power. Like, shut up, know your place." So maybe that's why it kind of happened. The Pau Gasol stuff looks kind of real if Mark Stein and Amick are kind of backing it up. They're pretty good with Sacramento stuff, so that's kind of a worry, but we'll see. Yeah. I mean, they're not perfect. Like Mick was on Zach Lowe's podcast to talk about the Kings things, and he's pretty off on like some stuff, but he's better than most people in terms of
national.
What's kind of no, he's definitely way better than most national, but still kind of like gives in to some of the hotter takes in terms of like Vivek role, because it's interesting. People still rip Vivek, and literally, apart from bring celebrities to games, he's literally done nothing. And even like with the George Karl stuff, he was pretty clean out of all of that in terms of firing George Karl. Like Woj tried to rip Vivek, but then like that kind of got dismissed quite quickly. That Woj just has a blind spot with Sacramento. So
I mean, like I'm always going to remember with Woj is just when he first reported that Karl's likely going to be fired, is one of his first quotes was source saying, this would just be such a dumb move by them reacting too quickly, and it's just like, oh, I wonder who your source is.
Yeah, and then I think what was his when Karl didn't get fired was, Karl didn't get fired because he never was, or like Karl isn't fired because he never was. So I don't know. It's just weird. Should we talk about the Powell trade then? Or is there anything else on Vance Walberg? I guess we'll just have to wait and see kind of how the next two Portland games look in terms of, we won't really get a good sense on how the defense changes because Nuggets, they just kind of run, I mean, maybe we'll see whether they switch or not because they run a lot of pick and pop with Dorol Arthur that's their way of creating spacing, so they don't really have any 3-point shooters. So we might not we'll get at least maybe a sense for switching, but maybe not for like how they react to the second, third pass away. So yeah, that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean the biggest again, just only biggest because I mean like it'll take a while to see Justin. But like biggest sick was Carl's on his own. He's got
Yeah. Well, he's still got most of the stuff is his, other than Coriolis. So I don't think he's alone, but like one of his favorite coaches is gone. So that's quite demasculating.
so because we got about 15 minutes before trade deadline. Obviously, some stuff could trickle out after, but last night I think it was Chris Mannix who first tweeted about the idea of Kings. I think it was Kings proposing an offer of Ben McLemore, Costa Kufos for Tony Snell, Pau Gasol, and Chicago would also get the. So currently, the top 10 pick is protected. If it's outside top 10, they get it, and they want to change that so they get a better chance at getting it, which means giving Philadelphia a sweetener. So that was the rumor last night. Didn't hear much this morning, but now it's picking up again with, as you mentioned, Mark Stein saying Kings are trying to still push to get Pau Gasol. When you first heard it, what was your reaction?
Well, because I only heard it this morning, so it was already kind of being laughed off a bit, and it's been dead. Like it pretty much sounded like it was dead until like 10 minutes ago. So I still kind of think this is more Chicago pushing it, partly because worded like making it sound like the Kings are dying to get Pau Gasol, who is on the next contract. Plays the same position as DeMarcus Cousins, who's being misused already. I get, and the way that also that kind of Vlade has been talked about both Gufos that they so Jason like Tony Snell, which is a problem. That could be Carl likes him or Vlade, I don't know. But it sounds like Vlade likes Ben McLemore, Vlade likes Kufos and Bellinelli. So it's kind of interesting in terms of like they're desperate to get Pau. So maybe that's ownership pressure, whether it's the minority owners, like, oh, we want a big name. But I mean, I don't see why you want an expiring contract and Pau Gasol for 6 months on a team that's likely not going to make the playoffs and plays the same position as your best player. So you're going to have Pau coming off the bench. Are you going to have Willie Cauley-Stein coming off the bench, but then you have less offense on the bench, and you're not helping the weakness. Like Pau's a really good offensive player, but he's not a good defensive player, and he's not a four. So you're still who's defending fours? Like it's going to be Boogie and we've seen with Kufos like two centers that aren't Willie Cauley-Stein and freaks that can go out on the perimeter don't really help you defensively. And so I think offensively it works, but defensively it's a nightmare, and that's the issue with the Kings is their defense. Tony Snell's pretty awful, so that's a definite downgrade from Ben McLemore. I guess I would like it if it's Kufos and Marco for Pau and Snell, but I mean still, I think I think that's still you're getting less kind of stability with that move because like you've got like Marco in theory shouldn't be this bad, and Kufos I think is a really good backup. I think ideally you'd want someone that could play a bit better with DeMarcus, so that's probably an issue. But it's kind of awkward. I don't really see the fit working that well. But yeah, I don't see how like Snell helps. Dropping the pick maybe helps slightly because you do want to give up the pick this year, ideally. But yeah, what's your kind of feeling on the trade?
Well, so I was up when it was being talked when it was first reported, and I tweeted just like it disturbs me. Not only from the perspective of what's Philly going to ask for as a sweetener to make that thing happen, because I'm afraid that if they do make a pick unprotected instead in future, I'm afraid of that happening. And then, I mean, I like Ben McLemore. Some of the reputation that some Kings fans give him in part because of Carl. It's just absolute
It's
lunacy.
also because he had loads of hype coming into the
Yeah,
draft,
yeah.
haven't lived up to that, and then it was a bad draft class, and he also has just been in a situation where he's been around loads of ball dominant players, and um, so that doesn't help. And didn't really have a point guard until now, and now has a really weird point guard. So yeah, I don't think any of that's kind of helped. And
And yes, I didn't like. I don't like the idea of it. I don't like the rumor deal. I'm not going to like it if it happens. One thing I do want to just throw out, just reading on Twitter, I think you mentioned it. Jason Jones, Zachary writer, said Kings really like Tony Snell. Casey Johnson, who covers the Chicago Bulls, was tweeting, Yars got Gasol signed with Chicago to be coached by Tom Thibodeau. Do you think, I don't know, maybe Lottie's looking ahead as a potential? We're going to get Gasol, and then we're going to go after Thibodeau with, we have Willie Cauley-Stein, we have Gasol, we have Cousins, and then, I don't know, try and sell Gasol and staying with the team next year?
I guess the issue is a player is going to be. I guess Vlade could relate well to Powell, but Powell's likely going to be able to go somewhere to win
Yeah.
quite easily, and then just not knowing who the head coach is going to be. I don't know.
Oh, oh
So
well,
there's a couple of different reports.
we do have something.
Oh, do we?
Well,
Is
just
it
Jason
James Ham?
Jones still
Oh.
looking less and less likely the Kings make a move other than firing Vance Walberg.
And then James Ham straight after saying there's still potential for fireworks in Sacramento. Kings continue to work the phones.
And we got 45 minutes left before the trade deadline, so things about to get interesting.
Should we talk about the other rumored trade, which was the Cavs one? So it was
Yeah.
so kind of the similar players involved: Marco, Kufos, and McLemore. So two of those would be going, and the return would be Mozgov and Shumpert. So I guess neither of us would want McLemore involved in that deal. The idea of it being Shumpert. So I guess maybe we talk about first Mozgov for Kufos, and we can kind of like separate it into like the guards for guards, the bigs for bigs. Mozgov, I guess, is maybe a more talented like overall player, but has more injury stuff, and then is hitting free agency, so you might not be able to restructure him. And I still think he has the same problem as Kufos in terms of like how he fits next to DeMarcus Cousins. But maybe you could play around with it. I'm not sure. What do you think of like that swap? I guess it's just if you were like, okay, well, we didn't realize Willie Cauley-Stein was going to be this good, so we'll go for like the expiring and then like maybe have some more money to go after Ryan Anderson. Could that be the idea?
Yeah, I mean, like, I hadn't thought about it that way. I mean, yeah, I guess it could be just seeing what you got in Moscow this year and then, deciding, if you don't like it enough in the offseason, just let him go. You will have that extra money for a Batum or a Ryan Anderson.
And ironically, Kufos was the starting center for Carl's Denver team, and Mozgov was the bench center. So that's kind of funny. It makes sense for the Cavs to get someone healthier and locked up long term, so it helps them keep under for a while. And then the Shumpert for either Marco or Ben, I would say it would be Marco makes sense probably for both teams. I think LeBron James obviously loves Ben McLemore. He's on his agency and stuff like that. I think he tweeted when he was coming out of the draft, like, "You're not ready for Ben McLemore" or something like that. But I think still Marco makes sense for them just in terms of spacing and a low usage guy. Obviously, he doesn't help them defensively, but then you can, if he's in a bench unit with Dellavedova, that kind of works. But Shumpert is a really bad shooter, probably a little bit better than Marco this year, but not a very good one. And then his contract's pretty bad. It's like 8 or 9 million for 4 years. And Ian Wharton, who I do a Miami Dolphins podcast with, he's a Cavs fan, and he was saying like he was also an intern for a year with the Cavs, so he knows them pretty well. And he was saying that he really isn't like into basketball much now that he's got paid. Like he's more into his child and like jewelry and fashion and stuff. So that could be kind of like another kind of concern. I would say he's like, if the good thing with if you get him and you're keeping Ben McLemore is you can match up pretty well. Like if you're playing a team where you need say you're playing like the Thunder, and maybe you want to the Thunder you can play Ben McLemore where they don't really have an offensive two guard, and then when you're playing a team like the Warriors, then maybe you go to Shumpert more and you just have him like defend, just stick on to, or like the Clippers, you just have him stick on to JJ Redick. So that could be kind of one plan where I wouldn't hate that. But I think that Kings fans are kind of overrating Shumpert somewhat.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But yeah, I wouldn't hate it just because I think maybe you just have to move on from Marco and do it quicker than later, and then at least you're getting a 24-year-old under a long contract. That kind of helps. Not a great contract, but not terrible. And then you kind of make up for that by getting expiring with it. Maybe you'd get a pick in that. Maybe I'm not sure, because I don't think there's like a huge gap between, like, I know when that deal went over, it was like a salary dump, the J.R. Smith such part, but J.R.'s played better than Shumpert. It's been more important to the Cavs. So when J.R. Smith's more important than that's kind of an issue, maybe. Shall we talk about the other trades that have gone down? So was it yesterday were the two big ones? So Courtney Lee, who we talked about quite a bit as being like a potential target for maybe like a trade. He was sold for pretty cheap, or four second round picks, which is a pretty good haul. And so they were obviously just Memphis. I assume they were just like, okay, well, we're not going to re-sign both Conley and Courtney Lee, so we'll try and get as much as we can. And they don't have a first round pick, and generally I think 4 second round picks you can get into the late first round. But yeah, I think that's a really good move for Charlotte. I really like it.
Yeah, especially with Michael Kidd-Gilchrist getting season-ending surgery.
Yeah, it means you can play Batum back at the 3. And I guess one issue for Memphis is if Hairston was still under, if they had extended Hairston, like taken up his option, that would be kind of better. So that's kind of maybe a shame for Memphis, but they also get Chris Anderson, which makes them crazy, which is funny. And so the Heat got in as just a cash dump. So what do you think the Kings could have matched for Courtney Lee?
Um,
And there's just Chris Haynes, who's a Cavaliers beat writer. So all the Ben McLemore rumors are coming from Cavs writers saying that the Mavs have jumped in pursuit of Ben McLemore. So that's coming from, definitely coming from Ben McLemore's side. Yeah, his agent.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. All the Ben McLemore rumors, or loads of Kings rumors, are coming out of Cleveland. So yeah, that's just interesting. What could they do Ben McLemore for? Maverick, should we enter the trade machine?
Yeah.
But anyway, do you want to talk about the Courtney Lee trade whilst I bring up the trade machine?
Yeah, I mean, like looking over, I mean, I like the court. Some KG got hurt, which sucked. But you mentioned that between being able to play the 3 again with Lee there. I mean, as for what Sacramento could match up with, I think the second round picks are all.
For me, it was either like Kufos going back to them, and that kind of worked salary wise.
Yeah, because Gasol's out for who knows how long.
So then, so they could drop back Kufos into that role. He hasn't been away for that long, half a year, so that could work. But maybe I think the Kings probably prefer Kufos to a free agent. Would maybe be the issue.
And then who's your third big?
Yeah. But then he would be, I don't think you want Courtney Lee as your starting guard either, so he'd be your 4th guard probably as well. So maybe it would be
Marco for...
Yeah, Marco as well. Yeah. So who was it again? Houston? Was it Houston? No, Dallas. So Ben McLemore is 3 million. So I really don't know who they could. I mean, almost all stars are Petunia.
Oh, that would be precious.
I guess they wouldn't want Rondo back.
You sure? Maybe we can convince them that.
Could do Wesley Matthews for Kufos, McLemore, and Anderson. But I don't think there's anything, unless they don't really have any picks, I don't believe. So, yeah, I don't really know how that could work.
I mean, I'm trying to make a connection with like anyone who the Kings possibly.
Because they just got loads of point guards and they don't really have any wings. I mean, if they had anyone, they would be trying to keep them. Like Dallas is so thin.
Jeez, Dallas's roster makes me want to cry. Just, yeah. Well, actually, you know what? I think. I mean, it depends on what you believe, but like, I think Dallas's executive VP or whatever came out and said today they're done. Nothing's happening. Of course, they could be lying, but
yeah, it's just
well, what we can do is we can look at Twitter and see what fans are coming up with for ideas.
I mean, it's definitely. I think it's almost certain that Ben McLemore wants out of, or his team wants him out of Sacramento, which is, I think, fair. Like the coach is being crap to him.
The non-Kings part of me wants him to be free.
Yeah, I'd be so sad. He's probably my second favorite player on the Kings after Boogie.
Wait, what?
I mean,
if they trade Ben McLemore, I haven't even thought about this. What is Pizza Guy's going to do?
Willie Cauley-Stein.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's got to be someone drafted, and I don't think Boogie's ever going to do it, is he?
Probably not. Although Boogie does a lot of commercials.
Yeah, that plumbing one's really good. I enjoy that one.
Do you have? I mean, just going back to Chicago. Do you have any concern of the reports of Kings really, really liking Tony Snell?
Maybe not. I'm not sure. Because I think that's just like it's kind of a weird thing to put out there, because it's like not you're making it hard unless it's like a Bulls source or an agent. Because if you're the Bulls, you'll be saying that to be like the fan base being like, okay, well, we need to get Snell now, make it happen. Like, I don't care what you think of Ben McLemore, just like do the trade. We want to have Snell. So I guess that's interesting, but
I'm gonna look up the Dallas Mavericks draft picks.
Okay, I'm pretty sure they've got nothing, or nothing they can trade anyway. So they might have one like next year, but then because of like the rules of when you can trade picks, they don't actually have one. Because I think it's top 10 protected this year, or maybe top 14 protected this year.
So
we'll be getting sent.
Yeah, so Boston owns it because it's top 7 protected, but 2017 they have their first round pick unprotected. 2018 they have it.
Okay. But so that's kind of like, that's not in a Boogie window. That's the thing with because of that Philly trade, you have to operate in you want to win now. So Ben McLemore is more valuable than a pick in 3 years. And like Dallas probably don't even want to give up that pick without it being really heavily protected, because you don't have Dirk anymore, and then you're guaranteed you're going to be good.
Oh man, just going through their picks and like looking back at that trade they made. Rajon Rondo, Dwight Powell from Mavericks for Brandon Wright, Jay Crowder, and the first round pick.
Yeah, and now Jay Crowder is like the cornerstone of like every big trade to the Celtics, but that's partly because the Celtics don't have anyone that's actually worth much. So that's kind of the issue there. He's just like, he's in a really smart coach's system and plays like the least, or maybe the second least prominent position, being like a good wing defender. There's just not much of them. Maybe like rim protection is the only other thing that's desired more, or like wing defender that can like hit open shots. So it seems to be. Was there any other kind of rumors that you've seen?
I'm trying to think. No, that's been about it. The Marco stuff has kind of died down, and
Yeah, so that was kind of interesting, where there was lots of saying like the Kings were not listening, and then it kind of changed the last couple of days where they're like shopping him.
yeah.
And then it did sound like the way James Ham was saying it was like they were like teams were lowballing them basically, which is fair. He's not playing well, so
Yeah.
And so would you say, I guess with a Marco deal, do you have to get back a 2 guard or a free that can play down, or just a free?
I need defense. I need just give me something.
So you don't really, because I guess that's like you can play the 2-point guard together, and then if you just get a free, and then that's your like Powell doesn't mind playing Rondo 40 minutes. We've seen.
Yeah, like part of my thing with why am I blanking with Marco now is I don't know. I kind of just I want to see him with a new coach. Maybe second season something different happens. I don't know. Get his value back up.
Another Mavs writer, Tim Cato, saying the Mavericks won't make any trades.
Yeah. So and that was a report from earlier this morning with I think it was someone in their organization saying, there's nothing's going to happen today. So, and just really they've been making real sense. Yeah.
It makes sense that it's coming from a Cavs guy. Like all the Kings rumors are coming from the Cavs Chicago side, or like the vertical, which Yahoo, other than Spears, is really bad for Kings stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just real quick, this is a side note, but like, I think was it when Blatt was first fired? Because obviously Woj dropped the nuke, he announced it. I thought it was a fake account because I didn't know about the vertical, so it was some Woj vertical NBA, and I was ready to block the account.
That's very funny. Yeah, Mannix has been really bad. I listened to like one of his podcasts, and he's basically just like sports radio. It's pretty awful. So we've got half an hour left, and it seems to be that it's the Kings are like the only team that people are talking about really as doing something big. I guess it's like Kings or Bulls. I guess Lance Stevenson's hasn't been moved. Who else do you think could get moved? Like, I guess there was the Okafor stuff, but maybe that's like maybe the trying to move Powell is the Bulls' way of like trying to get an Okafor value. Maybe they try and like move Derrick Rose or something for Okafor, try and trick Philly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Okafor. Yeah, I guess it'd just be. I mean, team being exploratory and trying to put it out there, see what happens. But I don't think, unless an offer blew away Philadelphia, I don't think anything was ever going to actually even lead to talk. So, other trades. I mean, DJ Augustine got traded today. I mean, Lance Stevenson maybe. Anyone else?
The Donatas Montejunas trade to the Pistons. Oh, we didn't talk about the other Pistons trade either. We only talked about the Courtney Lee one. Should we talk about the Pistons? Because Sven Van Gundy is like out daylight robbing people. I don't think this last trade was as good, but it's a top 8 protected first they sent for Montejunas. Montejunas has barely played and is a free agent. But I guess that's maybe the only way they can get free agents into Detroit is by the same way they did with what's his name last year, the point guard now from the Thunder.
Reggie Jackson.
Yeah, Reggie Jackson. So they did kind of the same. I think they spent more for Montejunas, but he fits really well. And then to buy, he'll be like the bench backup for, and then Tobias Harris for Jennings, and
that was
an amazing deal. I guess maybe that's the problem with Kings not really having any expirings, so they just went for expirings in the end.
Yeah.
And it's James Ham reported that Kings had a nice offer on the table for Harris. So I'd assume that would either must have been Gay or maybe. I mean, they could have used Rondo as an expiring, so maybe that shows they actually like Rondo.
Which leaves me disappointed.
Yeah, completely. And maybe they just would rather have, because Skiles knows Jennings and Ilyasova, so maybe he's like, oh, if they like it here, they're paying well, we can re-sign them cheap, maybe. So that could be the difference.
Yeah, Skiles is the reason I was kind of hoping they trade Oladipo, because he doesn't.
But maybe he's going to be like a guy that would be cheaper in next year, so you get like Gay for Oladipo and a draft pick or something like that.
Yeah.
Because they have space now to take in a Gay.
We got about 25 minutes before the trade deadline. Things have slowed down for now. I mean, the one question obviously is, even if it's like a Caron Butler trade, do you think the Kings make a trade in the next 25, 30 minutes?
No idea. I think Vlade's really quiet. I don't think he tells anyone anything, so I don't think people really know. And that's why everything out of the Kings is like from the other side, or just like, oh, there's noise. Like, so there's like low down people saying like, yeah, Vlade's on the phone. Don't know who he's talking to.
No, like
that's what it kind of feels like.
What you just brought up is so interesting, because like people talk about so many Kings leaks, but I think if you looked into it more, it's like some of it might be like minority ownership, but really it's all coming from outside agents and other teams. So there's not really
none
a leak
of them.
there.
Okay, the way you can tell is like none of them are good trades for the Kings. And that's how you know that the Kings aren't leaking stuff, because all these trades are terrible for the Kings. Maybe like when it was talking about Kufos and Marco, but I think that was just a misinterpretation of the trade, like the Kufos and Marco for Shumpert and Mozgov. And still then it's like interesting. So Sam Amick, the Mavs took a lot of calls from the Kings on McLemore and considered it, but not expected to make the move. So that makes it sound like the Kings are shopping.
Down.
Yeah.
Which,
but again, that could be the Mavs like saying, well, who knows?
It wasn't us that got rejected. It was them.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, that's a good way to read it. I think you could be right with that one. Because like the Kings aren't going to be going in and saying like, oh yeah,
we're shopping him. It just we couldn't.
We just kept calling him. We kept calling him. Unless they were going for Wesley Matthews and they were like trying that deal. Like okay, we'll give you Ben McLemore and a load of depth for Wes, or maybe Chandler Parsons, but his contract's up as well. Like he has an opt out. And Nike are releasing DeMarcus Cousins' special edition shoe in Sacramento tomorrow. So I think they're pretty confident he wasn't getting traded.
Yeah. Well, did you see Uncle Chaps earlier this morning?
Oh yeah, Chaps is in the NBA now, so beware.
Yeah. There's so much refreshing the timeline today.
Oh, you just need TweetDeck. But that's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's interesting for Amick to be pushing that, but maybe that's like he's obviously a national guy, so he's getting stuff from everywhere. Yeah. And like McLemore, or it could be like that could even be McLemore's agent being like, the Kings are trying to sell him, quick, like off lowball them. We'll push them to take it type thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the end, it's probably more McLemore's agent.
Pardon?
In the end, it's probably more Ben's agent.
And this is like something when Ben swapped agents, I said to you, was like, oh no, like this could be bad. And you're like, oh, I'll worry when, look, I think I maybe worded it as like when it comes to an extension, because they've basically always held out for trying to get a max, which obviously wasn't going to happen with Ben, but they might hold out to get like a bad deal. So it sounds like, yeah, he's not going to wait for stuff to happen.
I mean, like there might be some Kings fans upset or whatever. It's just an agent doing his job.
And yeah, seeing like Ben McLemore for Kevin Martin trades, like people actually
Oh,
thinking that's good.
yeah. Can we
People
talk
haven't
about
watched
because
Kevin Martin.
like more specifically, like so I was talking to you about it's like real Jim. They've had some, but like so many Kings fans were just jumping all over the idea of trading Ben McLemore for Kevin Martin. It's not
Like he
2005.
does, yeah. He's so bad defensively. He's not nowhere near as good as defensively as Ben McLemore, and that's like quite hard to be terrible. So it's surprising that the Kings have managed to do it for 3 years in a row now, be worse than Ben McLemore defensively as the second point guard. And surprisingly, Marco Bellinelli is actually a defensive upgrade over last year's backup point guard. And even this year, Nick Stauskas is there's only two players worse defensively than Marco Bellinelli, and one of them is Nick Stauskas. So they've done pretty well, the Kings. Yeah, I think that it's interesting. Like Ben's was shooting over 40% until like Carl completely started hating him, and started getting hurt, and then his numbers really dropped in January when he started getting hurt. But he's got better attacking the rim and passing when he gets to the rim. Defensively, still an issue, but a lot of that is the system and just everyone's out of position. And like so much of the time, he's like trying to make up, like guarding two people on the perimeter because Rondo's just rebound hunting or just doesn't care. So I get it. Like he doesn't score much, and because he doesn't have the ball much, and like guards score as much as they want on the Kings, and he's not like perfect or probably maybe like a top. I mean, he's probably a top 22 guard though, and there's a reason we're seeing loads of teams that want him because he's young and being misused.
Yep, and teams realize that. I mean, that's the thing with like half the Kings players. People are like, well, if we get him, we'll actually know how to use him properly.
But this is better than last year when we saw like no one wanted like Carl Landry, like people were trying to make up that Jason Thompson was going to help Golden State, and what he plays like 4 minutes, if that. It's like he was our starting four last year.
And like you read articles about the Warriors, they talk about how Jason Thompson has been a disappointment for them.
Yeah. So and then you even get things like people thought Ray McCallum was going to be good.
Yep, he's in the D League,
and he's in the D League. So it just shows you, and it's like that was Pete D'Alessandro's favorite player. So like, yeah, it's just kind of interesting.
We've got one trade.
Markieff Morris to the Wiz. Wow.
Yep,
that's a really good deal. I wonder who do you think is going to be going the other way? Otto Porter, or
I think it's more. What picks they have? I don't think it's Porter.
I know Otto Porter's been kind of leaked, but that's a pretty good deal for. Ken Berger saying no traction of talks with Pau Gasol.
Yes.
Who appears to be staying with the Bulls, always was, sort of said. So there we go. That's not going to happen.
I mean, this is speculating. You think for Wizards could be like a 2016, 2017 protections that carry over?
For the Wizards, could be. It could even be second round picks. I don't think they would really be getting a first for him, but I mean, we'll see what kind of happens. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, their starting price, I think it was being reported, they want a first round pick in a young player, which is just...
I mean, that's what you say. Here they got that's expiring. Or maybe it could even be someone like
Let's go to the trade.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Who did they get? Telalovic or something. They got him last year, and he's been injured the whole time. I think it's... Or Alan Anderson, maybe. And Sessions with... but we'll see. I'm glad at least the PAL one's gone.
Nene expiring deal. And Nene's got a big expiring contract.
Yeah, I don't think the Suns could even take that in. I think Alan Anderson, something around that. And so it sounds like the Wizards are going after. It's interesting that Ryan Anderson hasn't gone anywhere. I don't think he's helped himself going anywhere with the whole like I'm not gonna go anywhere type talk. Should we talk about the Pistons? They were rumored a lot with being interested in Ryan Anderson. Do you think that helps the Kings get Ryan Anderson in free agency now that, especially now they've got potentially Monty Eunice as well as a four?
I mean, it's one less suitor, but I still feel like there will be plenty going after him, given how many names teams have been mentioned. And looking at that crop of free agents, it's going to be
Humphreys and Alan Anderson. I think
here we go.
For Morris.
Suns get a protected first-round pick from Washington.
Whoa. That's surprising. I guess the protections are going to be like top 16 or something.
Yeah, top 16 round. I mean,
but they must be getting some salary back or something. Yeah. But that's interesting. I guess it's a good buy low on for the Suns, I guess.
And I mean, it probably wouldn't happen, but Phoenix could take on Nene's salary. They'd have to add like $900,000, but
I mean, Alan Anderson's an expiring, so that would make sense. Yeah. And then he'd maybe add like Telalovic. I know that. Sorry, that's or like Sessions as an expiring. Dudley even, although I think Dudley probably helps them more in there. Oh, it's Chris Humphreys and DeJohn Blair. So there you go. So I got one player right. Humphreys.
Who do you like it better for?
Probably the Wizards. You're probably not going to get someone with as much talent as Markieff in like the 20s of a draft. And yeah, they need more talent. He's talented. So he'll probably play better being happy like his brother has. Detroit's not too far away from Washington. Maybe they can both like live in between and commute. They like to share the house. What's the commute between the two?
I'm gonna Google Maps it right now. All right, Google Maps. Let's see. From what's Detroit stadium name?
I'm not sure.
I'm going to find out, and we're going to find out just exactly how. Oh, Palace of Auburn Hills. Wow. We're going to find out how long of a drive it is.
I mean, they can probably afford to get like a plane or something.
Yeah, but you know, you can sleep on those.
It's only top 9 protected.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Phoenix did great there then. So I wonder if that's
9-hour drive. There we go.
Okay. But it's sort of like an hour flight, 2-hour helicopter. But yeah, that's really impressive. I guess they get out of that, and Chris Humphreys is a 2-year contract, so they get out of that deal, which is good. So that kind of helps. And it's a 2016 first, so I guess it doesn't really matter about the protection.
And guess who the Wizards play tomorrow?
The Suns.
The Pistons.
Oh, the Pistons. Okay. Wow, that's nice. But I mean, like I think Wizards are definitely making the playoffs, so it's gonna.
Yeah.
It'll convey. It doesn't really matter that it's top 9 protected. It's just if for some reason Wall gets hurt or something. And Chris Humphreys is awful, so getting him off the floor is good.
Oh, even if Wall gets hurt, they're probably not even going to be in the top 9. So.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to do that, and most of the East is going to be tanking now.
Yeah.
So 10 minutes left. Do you think Ben McLemore survives? Sort of, I think we're pretty certain DeMarcus does with his shoe being launched. That his shoe only being sold in Sacramento tomorrow.
Yeah. if I had to bet on, it, I'd say that Ben survives, and there's gonna be some Kings fans disappointed, but I'm gonna be very, very happy. As will Kings' next coach.
Yeah, I think you just need to get him into the next training camp, and then hopefully that'll work a bit better. So I doubt Markeith will be playing tonight. I don't think he can get over to Detroit quick enough. You never know. Maybe he's staying with his brother.
Well, no, he'll. So they play Utah tonight. They'll play Pistons tomorrow. So
Okay.
he could get.
So maybe go straight to
His first game will be against Ed and
a
against his
sleepover.
brother.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So as of right now, the Wizards would be sending a 12th pick. So there's kind of some risk there.
Wow, that's.
But Markeith's been playing kind of good the last couple of weeks, other than fighting people. But yeah,
Hey, it happens.
that's probably a great. I think it's a good deal for both, really.
Yeah.
But I don't think like the Wizards are going to be upset about losing that. This draft class doesn't look great.
Well, yeah. I mean, upgrade for now, and Phoenix is just happy to get rid of Markeith.
Yeah, and it's a good deal. So yeah, I think they did pretty well.
So we got about 9 minutes before the deadline.
Think about the Darren Collison shooting down rumors that he's unhappy and asking to be traded. That were in with a Rudy Gay asking to be traded.
That made me happy because
Ben's not been. I mean, Darren's not been playing great. But he doesn't look as like into it as he did last year, and maybe that's partly because like Malone was like, good work like running your team and stuff like that, and he made it like seem like it was Darren's team, whereas now he's like being kind of forgotten about.
I mean, that whole like Jason Jones' tweet this morning is Ben has a lack of trust with his coaching staff, and when Malone left, his play went down.
And sounds like Ryan Anderson's staying in New Orleans. So I think the way like the Pistons are out of it now, I would say they're out of it for Ryan Anderson. So I think that's pretty good chance. Kings are the team that overpay for Ryan Anderson next year. But if you have this
Zach
kind
Lowe's
of
tweet,
what was that?
It's bizarre to me that Markeith and Demo, who get first-round picks, and Tobias Harris doesn't.
Yeah, maybe like Tobias Harris being done for so cheap made like other teams be like, okay, we'll make a move. I'm not sure. Or maybe just Scott Skiles really hates Tobias Harris and like maybe they only signed him to that deal wanting to get something in return. If you think it was like they were going to get nothing for him last year other than cap space, so then instead they got a year and a half of some people they could still re-sign if they wanted to. I don't know. And the coach knows. I mean, it's like the second time Tobias Harris has been traded by Scott Skiles, so that shouldn't be too. I think it was more interesting that they kept Harris than. No.
Who would you rather have as a coach, Scott Skiles or George Karl?
George Karl, but just not with this Kings roster.
Yeah, I don't.
So if you had a roster that fitted him and that was the plan, or you just let him be the GM as well, I think he's a better coach, but he's obviously just a rock in terms of personnel.
You think there's any chance out of blue we see Rudy Gay traded?
No, not now. I thought the Tobias Harris Oladipo would have been the trade, and it's been pretty quiet since Tobias Harris has been traded, so maybe that was the move. And because I think since then we've just heard that Rudy Gay isn't happy, but maybe that was even before Tobias was traded. So I don't think we've really heard anything since then. And like the Bulls have been another team that's been interested in Rudy Gay. I would assume that would be something like Taj Gibson and Snell, maybe. I know there was yesterday rumors that the Bulls want a first-round pick and a player for Taj. So who knows? Amex saying it's all quiet on Napier, Brooksteel, and maybe him talking to the Bulls a lot means that's kind of where the Powell stuff came from.
Yeah.
But who knows? But then, yeah, other Bulls people shooting down it, so who knows?
I mean, there's 5 minutes left, but I think we saw that. I think it was even after the deadline passed, just all the stuff that happened after. They can
I can see it. Yeah, and it's like stuff can take like 10 minutes or something to go through. But
we've got
generally, I think because
Cleveland writer, Cavs will not execute any more trades before deadline approaches.
Okay.
League sources tell Cleveland.com.
So Shumpert is off the table then? Because it sounded pretty much like yesterday that the Kings would have Shumpert. They had an offer that was there for Shumpert, basically.
Yeah.
So
and this goes back to the report from Jason Jones earlier this morning, who said the Shumpert stuff is pretty much dead.
Okay, I didn't see that one. I don't think we see. I think maybe we see one more trade, but we'll see.
I'll go with.
Do you think the Bulls are going to do something?
No, I don't think Bulls. I think Bulls will, stay quiet. And I forgot who tweeted, but they said Bulls are the only team in the past 2 years who haven't made a trade.
Okay.
Which is.
And Dwight's staying in Houston. Al Horford is going to stay. Ryan Anderson staying.
Boogie is staying.
Yeah. George Karl is staying.
Vance Walberg is not staying.
No, Vance didn't make it. Which is a shame because I enjoyed so David Aldridge saying, while the Kings hoping to get something done with Bulls, by deadline chances dwindling. And Sean Cunningham saying all quiet in Kings land. So considering all these people talking about the Kings, maybe it must be quite loud somewhere else.
I mean, considering
shouting towards Sacramento.
Considering what was talked about last night, if no deals are made, I'm fine.
Yeah, I think that's because you only have Rondo expiring. So then, next year it will be. I think Gay has an opt-out and entering restricted free agency, and that's pretty much it. I feel like Seth can opt out. James Anderson can opt out. I believe those are the only two guys with opt-outs.
Please opt out, James Anderson.
I don't know if they will. I think they like ruining our lives. And so 2 minutes, but I guess we might have something that flows over.
It's really a 12-minute window.
Yeah. But you never know. It sounds. Oh no, that was a fake account.
What did the fake account say?
It's already. It's already being muted or taken down. It'll be good if somehow Vlade just fires someone else or something, or hires a GM. I think the Bulls might do one more point guardy thing. Yeah, Mark Stein reporting Powell's going to stay in Chicago.
Excellent. That's the best news.
One survival. Yeah. But I think maybe if you want to look at it as a positive, it's like lots of teams think Ben McLemore is good. So
yeah,
and
the next Kings head coach will think he's good. Hopefully,
yeah. And Vlade thinks he's good, which is important. I think the decision maker and before the season started, before free agency, before the draft, Vlade talked about Gay, Boogie, and Ben being the core, the building blocks of the team. So maybe that's changed slightly now with him looking to move him or like have conversations about him. But I mean, like you should have conversations about him if you can get something good back. But obviously,
And
doesn't
yeah,
think
there was
Canela's
some
good.
talk about Thabo, Cephalosha, and Amick just said Hawks are done. So there will be no
Okay.
Thabo and Sakto.
I guess that's the same kind of premise as if you did like a Marco or Kufos with them being down, Splitter. That kind of works in that same kind of structure as if you were getting Shump, I guess. So it's past deadlines. We'll see if anything else happens. We'll see.
And this is the funnest part of the all time. We're going to see.
James Hand saying no last minute deals for Sacramento.
All right.
So
I'm
Ben
very cool with
McLemore
that.
survives.
We need to celebrate this because I'm so happy. Thank you, King. Thank you, Vladi. Is there any move you wish they made?
Fire George Carl. I mean, so Mark Stein saying ESPN source says Sacramento's keeping Ben McLemore and in the end was hoping to make him part of a Powell deal. But who knows? And again, that could just be another site like agents trying to get rid of Ben McLemore out of Sacramento.
How's Ben McLemore's agent doing right now? You think he's a little bit peeved? Yeah. And all confirmed. Amick, Mark Spears, Kings are done. No deals for the Kings.
Okay, so that's good.
Oh, poor Amick. He wrote in advance a story about the Pau Gasol Cousins pairing. This is tragic.
So I think that's probably like at least it's not like reacting to the down year by the new guys, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's one. Yeah, we talked about that. Is like seeing what maybe Marco has with the new coach new season.
Yeah, and even Kufos. I saw that. I think he's only going to be limited to 20 minutes with Boogie, but yeah, I think it's nice to like keep some structure. Then you go into next year, you have like at least one draft pick with the San Antonio second rounder, which will be probably 58, if not 60. So I guess that kind of helps. You can just get one young player there. You make your decision on Rondo and maybe
go after Ryan Anderson.
Yeah, Ryan Anderson and another wing.
So just from this week, I mean, I guess you could say takeaways. George Karl has very little to no power right now. That's
Who's
obvious.
saying that?
He lost his. No, I mean just takeaways from this
Okay,
week.
you're just
George
saying
Karl has little to no power.
Yeah.
At least Vladi still likes Ben because we got an idea that the Ben McLemore rumors were in part coming from George Karl, who wanted him traded. Let's see what else.
And also that they think like if we're going to move him, it's got to be for someone who like moves the needle like a Gasol. Yeah. So they think of him highly, so that's good. But hopefully he just gets to play some more.
Yep. Oh, and another big takeaway is no minutes were taken away from Willie Cauley-Stein at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I guess you could have added minutes in a Kufos trade. Yeah. But because if you get Mozgov, he's going to be hurt a lot. So that gives some more minutes to Willie. But, I mean...
Yeah, so we're 4 minutes in, I think, NBA-wise, we're down.
Yeah, maybe we'll see... I think we might still see a Bulls Magic trade or something, but...
So you want to real quickly look at the Kings' upcoming schedule?
Yeah, so the next two games are the Nuggets, back to back. The Kings start at home. The
Oh
first
yes, I
time the
forgot.
Kings face Karl Malone, and what's and it's the now exactly what 83 games, the 83rd game for George Carl. So he'll be
Yeah.
been coaching for over a year, so that'll be interesting. Um, then who's after that? Then it gets a pretty bad stretch, isn't it? It's like the Cavs,
Nuggets, Spurs,
a couple of
Clippers, Thunder, Grizzlies, Mavs, Spurs, Pelicans, Cavs, Magic, Jazz.
So yeah, it gets pretty rough. But it's pretty hard to sweep on back to back with one team. Kirk Heinrich to the Hawks for a second round pick.
Oh, the Hawks weren't done.
Yeah.
Huh. So what do the Hawks want with Heinrich?
Who knows?
Keep King, keep Schroeder. That's looking at. Looking at because we mentioned
just want a second round pick, maybe.
Kings' upcoming schedule is rough. I mean, if things continue to go poorly, do you think there's a point we see George Karl fired?
I'm not sure. I think now. I mean, maybe if like players just literally go into like Ty Corbin mode, maybe that's the only move you can make. Again, then the issue there is, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. It seems like as of now, we could be looking at Kings keeping their draft pick.
I'm not sure because I think the East is going to start because it's a lot of the East ahead, and only really the Nuggets that can catch the Kings in the West. So I think a lot of the East is going to start tanking, and then you catch them pretty quickly. So I think they can still keep their pick, and I think like they're going to still like Boogie can win any game pretty much. So, and yeah, even playing like that's the amazing thing with DeMarcus Cousins. He's like he can even in this terrible system he can break it because he's just so good. And there's like I really like how like Ambruski describes Rondo. It's like too much Rondo and everything tastes like Rondo, but Boogie is aubergine. Everything is like edible with aubergine. So that's me extending the metaphor more. Ambruski didn't come well up the aubergine bit, but that's my added bit. It's like even this scheme, as bad as it is, DeMarcus Cousins is so good he can make it like be productive and good. So there you go. DeMarcus Cousins is aubergine. I think that's a good comp. That's a good comp. So like Rondo's garlic. I think that works. And you can literally put so much garlic with aubergine. It's still good. Yeah. Shall we finish with that food-based analogy?
I love it. I mean, but also like, I'm just happy Ben McLemore's saying like, this is my happiness.
I think we're the only people that like cape for McLemore, but I mean,
yeah,
it's not good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying on Twitter last night, like listen to our podcast for people who like Ben McLemore. It's
there's not many, but I mean, yeah, I can get it. How many games are there this week then before next Tuesday?
Let's see. We got
so back to back with Nuggets.
Yeah,
isn't it back to back?
Friday versus Denver, because this is the weird part of the schedule. It's Friday versus Denver, then Tuesday.
Okay.
At Denver, so.
So that makes it maybe a bit more possible they can sweep it, but still kind of rare.
It's a weird schedule though. So between February 10th and 23rd, they played, or February 11th and 22nd, they played one game.
Yeah. So those two Nuggets games, how do you think it goes down? Do you think the Kings get back on track? win some games?
I think they lose both.
Oh, really? I think
Yeah,
it's probably. I think it probably goes 1-1.
I think you're going to see a young Nuggets team who wants to win these games for their coach, first at Sacramento and then just do it again to sweep it. So I think Kings going to lose both games.
They're playing better. I think maybe the crowd's going to be up for it with Malone there. I think,
The crowd's going to be cheering for Malone.
yeah. But yeah, I think the Kings will win one at least, but we'll see. Should we end it there then? With Twitter seems to be
there.
happy.
I mean, we're probably some of the happiest, really the only happy people in for Sacramento Kings fans after the deadline. But you know what? I'm going to take it because Ben McLemore is still a King and George Karl is on his way out.
Yeah, just when.
Yeah, that's not soon enough.
Aaron Brewski's laughing off if even a deal existed with the Bulls. So there you go. Said if the Bulls passed on that deal, Bulls fans should be writing if that deal ever existed.
Yeah.
Let's go. But yeah, let's disappear into the night before Ben McLemore gets traded. Last second, we got a bad run of live shows. The Kings losing. I think we're 2-1 on buzzer beaters. We should never do a game again because they always go to overtime or like last second shot. So
you know what's probably going to happen though?
we'll stop broadcasting and then
boom, it's going to be announced.
Rondo trades because we got to go 2-2 on buzzer beaters.
Yeah.
Let's pray for Rondo trade then.
I love Brewski's tweets. Like as Mia pointed out before, Kings aren't trying to foul. Bulls must have passed on a kitchen sink trade of epic proportions.
Yeah, Brewski's salty at the moment. His new site, Hoople, was good though, so go check it out if you like fancy basketball. Yeah,
definitely.
And they have a good Carl piece up on there as well.
Ooh. And so that's going to wrap it up, the Sack Off podcast from the beginning of the hour leading up to trade deadline to now. Talked to y'all through it, talked about Vance Walberg being fired, all the rumors that would happen and make us sad. And in the end, Walberg's gone. Karl's going to be done at the end of the season. Vladdy likes Ben McLemore. And things are good for the Sacramento Kings before they start playing again.
4 centers. We don't have 4 centers.
And the NBA trade deadline is over.